Good morning. Well, here we are. We've made it. Give yourself a hand. The whole month of radical forgiveness. And we've made it. Here we are, the last week of the theme for the month, radical forgiveness. And you know, once again, I want you to know that how these topics come alive for me. It's amazing how I get to live these topics every time, every month. You know, I think from now on I should consider monthly themes like what to do with those millions I've just gotten. What to do with all that wealth and fame. Now that you're wildly successful, ... you know. I think we need to change what we're doing on those themes. No, really. So we're discussing radical forgiveness, and this is a really, really powerful place to be. And this talk today is changing the future. And I got it from a talk, from a quote by Bernard Meltzer, who said, "When you forgive, you in no way change the past, but you sure do change the future." You sure do change the future. And that's what we're discussing today, that forgiveness changes our future for the better, always, always, you know. So when I was thinking about, when I saw that theme, radical forgiveness, on the monthly calendar, and I started thinking about, well, how is this going to play out in my life? Because it always does, you know. What kinds of playful things is Spirit going to do to just drive home this point for me about radical forgiveness? So I thought, you know, I'll probably get an opportunity to look at all those places in my life where maybe I'm less than forgiving. You know, that Spirit would somehow this month give me an opportunity to confront all those places where I'm withholding forgiveness, or maybe I'm judging, or I'm not allowing people to move on, or I'm not giving someone safe passage through my mind, something like that. You know, sounds reasonable, right? That's kind of what I would go through this month with that thing, but no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. This month has been a whole entire month of me screwing up. A whole entire month of me doing the wrong thing, forgetting stuff, filled with all sorts of late appointments, missed appointments, dropped phone calls, missed meetings, forgetting errands, losing contact information, failing to follow through on commitments. It was a whole entire month of me having to apologize. It was a whole month of me asking for forgiveness from others. You know, I was the one asking for, it was one big month-long forgiveness festival for me. It was amazing. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how that happened. I'm really sorry. Forgive me. I didn't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to run over your foot with the cart. You know, I'm really, really sorry. I'm sorry my phone broke down and I didn't return your Monday call till Friday because I didn't know I even got it. You know, I'm sorry. What is today again? You know, oh my God, was that meeting today? I thought I have it on my calendar for next week. You know, it was just like a whole month. Oh, was that your seat? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sit there. You know, it was like a whole month of me apologizing to people. I'm sorry, I'm late. It went on and on and on. I made more mistakes, missed more calls, had more late appointments, missed more meetings. It was really, I mean, it started getting funny after a while, except it wasn't funny, you know. I started looking at it thinking, oh my God, what is going on, you know? And I started to see that pattern. You know, that lovely pattern, the divine patterns that Ernest Holmes talks about. Here's something for you to look at. And I started seeing that pattern. It's like, oh my God, how can one person get so many things wrong so often? And really it became clear that I was being given the opportunity to see about being the person asking for forgiveness. You know, when we always talk about forgiveness, we always talk about forgiving others. So now I was being given this wonderful opportunity to be the person asking for forgiveness. I had this opportunity of a lifetime. I had I asked to be forgiven, I think, a record number of times for 1 month. I think it was a personal best, actually. Really, honest to God, I was apologizing for things like every other day. And, you know, and while I was going through this month, I started thinking to myself, hey, you know, I'm really good at this. This whole asking for forgiveness stuff. I'm getting better and better at it, you know. It got easier and easier to apologize for messing up as I was apologizing more and more, you know. It just gets easier and easier to do. So I'm so sorry I made a mess of things, you know. I said it. I'm so sorry, I made a mess of things. And the world didn't end, and I didn't burst into flames, although sometimes it felt like I should have. But I didn't. And in fact, the only thing that happened was I discovered how forgiving people are. I discovered how people are a most understanding bunch, and that they extend forgiveness easily and often. How about that? Isn't that a lovely thing? So each time I apologized, it got easier. You know, and I don't think that I'm particularly challenged with saying I'm sorry. It's not. I'm not one of those people that like just can never admit that they're wrong. Did you ever meet any of those people? You know, they just will never apologize for anything. They will never admit that they're wrong. It's like so boring. Gandhi said, "The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong." And so as I was going through this month, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, and the same can be true for asking forgiveness. Those of us who are strong in our commitment to ourselves and our authenticity, we do find it easier to ask forgiveness as well as forgive. It is also an attribute of the strong. So what I learned from this marathon apology month was that asking for forgiveness gets easier each time you do it. Realizing how many times I had to apologize for things. And nothing malicious. None of this stuff was like evil and wicked and horrible things that I had done, but stupid stuff. Just total mess ups and lost, things and just dropped stuff. And I got the opportunity to see how easy it is to make mistakes, to misunderstand others, to forget stuff, whatever. And it gave me a wonderful opportunity also to understand how easy it can be for me to forgive others in those same circumstances. Because most of the people that let us down are in that same situation. It's not malicious, it's not evil, it's not done out of anger. It's simply humans being humans. And it makes it easier for us to offer forgiveness for similar offenses. We develop an ease in asking for forgiveness. We can develop an ease in giving forgiveness. Both things become easier. Ernest Holmes said in Richer Living, he said, "Whatever the mistakes of yesterday may have been, today's a new creation. Turning from the errors of the past and no longer carrying with us the sorrows and mistakes of yesterday, today we enter into a new experience. But it's only when we forgive everyone that we may feel certain that the weight of condemnation is lifted from our own consciousness. We should refuse to carry the negations of yesterday into the positive atmosphere of today, for today the world is made new by our experience." So what a weight that just drops from us, isn't it? When we can drop that holding grudges and holding resentments and holding that lack of forgiveness, we create that new today for ourselves, We make forgiving a spiritual practice, which is really what it is. We practice forgiveness, we practice forgiving ourselves, because that's really all forgiveness is, self-forgiveness. We practice forgiving ourselves, we practice asking forgiveness, and we practice by forgiving others. When we're comfortable asking for forgiveness, forgiving others is a breeze. It's really, really easy. The more we're asking for forgiveness, the easier it gets for us to forgive others. We get to identify, that's me. That's me too. I've done that. I've been there. Oscar Wilde said this, I love this. He said, "Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much." It's in our best interest. So here are some ways in which we can practice forgiveness. Here's some ways, and some ways in how we do it, why we do it, what's involved with doing it, how often we do it. Just did it, want to do it again. We are a practical spirituality, so we need practical tools in this spiritual tool belt. So here are some of the practical ways we practice forgiveness on a daily basis. Now, there's the traditional one, right? Canceling a debt. That's really what what that forgiveness in business practices, in our everyday practices. Forgiving a debt, right? Forgiving a debt. You know, here's the you know, the $10 I owe you. Ah, it's all right, forget it, right? Canceling a debt is forgiveness. We decide to release ourselves from anger, resentment, hate, or the urge for revenge, despite the injury we suffered. So this is the deeper kind of forgiveness. This is what we're talking about then when we say all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Because when we free ourselves of the anger and the resentment and the hate and the urge for revenge, we're freeing ourselves. It really has no impact on the offender. It's setting ourselves. It's something we give to ourselves. It's a choice to no longer suffer from someone else's behavior of the past. That's really what it is. And in Ernest Holmes, in the Living the Science of Mind, said, everything moves in circles. This is the way of life. And what we refuse to give, we refuse to accept. Nothing is more important than we learn how to forgive both ourselves and others. Because this is the energy in which we are immersed. So if we are immersed in the energy of resentment and hostility and anger, it's the only thing that we can get reflected back to us from life. It's the only thing, because that's all we're sending out. So another way we practice forgiveness is we let go of the hope of a different past. Isn't that interesting? We let go of hoping for a different past, you know? We stop wishing things had gone differently. And when we release the past, we free the future. Thank you. It's so powerful. It is so powerful. When we release the past, we free the future. So the fourth way, we surrender feelings of animosity and hatred when others harm us. And this is moving beyond bitterness. We can hold on to this as long as we want, and we're not injuring the other party. You know that old saying about, you know, resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other guy to die, you know? It only hurts us. It only hurts us. You know, hanging on to the bitterness, hanging on to the resentment is really hurting our own energy, hurting our own vibrational level. It's just bringing us down. There is life after hurt. There is. And when we give up the grudge, we have to feel the pain. When we move through it, we're freed from it. We're freed from it. James Baldwin, and I saw this quote this morning. It was really funny. On the Vision website, I thought, oh, we're on the same page here, totally. Because Vision posted this morning. James Baldwin said, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once the hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with the pain. And that's really what started the whole thing, the whole ball of, right, of anger and resentment and unforgiveness is the hurt that's at the base of it. We convert it into anger and resentment and bitterness, but it's really the hurt that starts the whole thing going. So when we deal with the pain, and we are strong enough to do that, we can deal with the pain, we can lean into it, we can move through it. On the other side of that pain is our freedom. So another way we can forgive is we change our grievance story. You have a grievance story, right? Who did it to you? We have a grievance story we carry around with us. We need to stop telling our victim story. We need to stop telling it. When we drop the grievance story, when we surrender the idea that spirit can be injured by spirit, we have to let go of that idea. We stop telling the victim story. And then what happens is it empowers us to tell our story of strength, to tell our story of overcoming obstacles. We start telling our story of the spiritual warrior, which is the truth of who we are. When we hold on to our grudges and our grievances and that they did it to us, we're hanging in the energy of the victim. My mom abused me. My dad was distant and ignored me. My husband cheated on me. My boss fired me. Whatever, whatever. Stop telling the stories so your friends will feel bad for you. You know, that's why we're telling them. So stop telling them. Stop telling the stories that make you a victim and start telling the stories that make you a hero. Because that's who you are. You are the spiritual warrior in your own life. Tell the story you're going to enjoy telling. Be the hero. Be the conqueror. That's the story that you want to keep telling. That's the energy that you want to resonate in. You're done being the victim. Change your story. Tell the story that empowers you. Don't worry about how it falls on anybody else. This is your life. Tell your story so that you're the hero of it. Another way that we forgive is we decide not to seek punishment for those who have harmed us. You know those wahaha moments, you know? You seek revenge in your mind, you know? We need to let go and let God. We leave the punishment to karma. You know, what we know is that in the universe, the scales are forever balanced. They are. They are forever balanced, and we are content to know that balance is a quality of God, and what we send out, we get back. And so if we get caught up in that whole spiral of revenge and payback, that's all that the universe can reflect back to us. We have to drop it. We have to choose a new story. And that goes along with number 7, which is choosing not to engage in vindictive passions. And oh, it sounds just so emotional. But it's choosing not to engage in vindictive passions. We give up the thoughts, the fantasies, the wonderful scenarios that we create of revenge, of payback. Because what we know is even violent thoughts are violent. Even violent thoughts are violent. So we have to drop that. We disengage with revenge thoughts and daydreams of getting even. Josh Billings said, "There is no revenge so complete as forgiveness." So number 8, a change of heart. A change of heart. This is how we forgive. A change of heart or ceasing to hate. This is grace. This is where we're moving to. This is the grace of God as us in the world. This is where we are transformed by grace alone to see as God sees and to be as Spirit through us into the world. You know, God does not forgive. God does not forgive because God has never condemned to begin with. God's just love. God is simply love. We are the ones that have to move through the idea of slight and the idea of forgiveness and reconciliation. And when we drop all of that story, we see as God sees. God is simply love. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "If we hold a grudge, we bar ourselves from the highest expression of our divine nature. God never hates, nor does God hold feelings of bitterness toward any person. Thus, the grudge holder is trying to express God and something else, which is quite impossible. Spirit is not cut up into little sections. No one can say, I accept God's healing, but not express God's love." And so number 9, the last one. Respond to the unjust hurt with compassion, benevolence, and empathy. And this is more of the same. This is more of God's grace flowing through us and as us. When we respond to the hurt with understanding, with compassion, with empathy, we are being the Christ consciousness in the world. That's what we're being called to be. That is what our spiritual path is all about. Becoming that open and clear vessel so that we are the Christ consciousness in the world. We are the representation of Spirit. We are God and company, and we're the company. We're the ones who represent Spirit on earth. So when we respond to hurt with understanding and compassion and empathy. We are that Christ consciousness in action. We seek to understand. We see from the perspective of the other person. We are spirit in form, in action in the world. And then we become the place where peace is made known. We become the place where love is made known. We are that. So there you have it. 9 ways in which we actively practice forgiveness. And it doesn't change our past, but it sure will change our future. It absolutely will. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "This is divine forgivingness. Neither the consciousness of spirit nor the laws of the universe hold anything against us. Wherever we turn to them in recognition and acceptance, they immediately flow through us, imparting divine givingness into our experience." That's a definition of who we are. We are that in the world. We are the divine givingness of the world. Spirit works through us in the world, and we get to demonstrate all of those qualities. And when we forgive, we are that. We are that divine Christ consciousness showing up in form. So not only does it change our future, I keep going back to that, to the idea of the month, radical forgiveness. Radical forgiveness. It's bigger than I give people safe passage through my mind. That's the beginning of it, right? That's the beginning of it. I know I have forgiven this person when they have safe passage through my mind. But that's just the beginning. So where does it go from there? We go one step further, right? We bless them as they go through our mind. We actually bless them and allow them to be. We bless them and release them. Doesn't mean we have to have coffee with them. But we bless them as they go through our mind. We bless them and accept them just as they are. We bless them and release them just as they are. That's radical forgiveness. And then we even go one step further from after that. Radical forgiveness is blessing the experience we had, right? It's becoming grateful for the experience we had because it changed us and it grew us and it got us more in touch with our own divine nature. That's radical forgiveness. Are you up for it? It seems like there's like no breathing in the room. That's radical forgiveness. That's the path we're on. That's who we are as spiritual beings. We are the Christ consciousness in form. It is up to us to be that clear vessel through which Spirit operates in the world. And forgiveness is one of the ways. It lifts us out of our human condition, and it creates that conscious knowing of our oneness with Spirit. You're breathing, right? And you know what you're going to do today? You're going to all leave here. You're going to go back to the Science of Mind magazine, and you're going to look up and see what next month's theme is. I know it. Bless you all. Bless you all for hanging in there for a whole month of radical forgiveness. This is who we are, and I know this is what we're capable of. And I know each and every day that you practice it and I practice it, it gets easier and easier. Thank you so much.